Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 2, Episode Where Silence Has Lease. Starring this pervert. Focus. There we go. This guy. I'm just going to go through this episode and talk about stuff I liked, stuff I noticed, and it's going to be like it's a book club and it's my turn to talk about this episode. So I like how the episode starts and Picard is all worried about Worf and Riker, and so then it cuts here and you think they're on some secret mission. But look at this matte painting behind them. So I guess it's fine because it's the holodeck, so everything's fake. But it's supposed to be real, like you're supposed to think that they're really on some secret scary mission, right? Because Picard doesn't say that he's worried about them in their training in the holodeck. He says he's worried about them, and it makes you be like, oh, like they're on some secret scary mission. Anyway, I just love the details that come out on the Blu-ray, like that matte painting. It's just part of the charm of this show. All right, then check out Riker's stunt double with this huge beard, like sticking way out on his chin. Right here, look at him. Check it out, even the aliens in the holodeck use the double fist slam maneuver. Right here. He loves this part. He loves all the planets and he loves the ship going by. He always gets excited on this part. I do too.
Is there any record anywhere of any occurrence?
Watch this with Data.
Accessing. Negative, sir.
So that thing with Data is kind of an inconsistency with him. So it's like, when do they go just ask Data and when do they go just check their computer? So Riker goes up to Data and he's like, hey Data, have you ever seen anything like this? Or is there any record of this? And then Data's like, accessing, and he's like, boop, 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 boop. And then he's like, no, there's no record of this ever happening. So sometimes Data just goes and gets on the computer and looks stuff up, but he doesn't often do this, where they're like, hey Data, this complicated question, and then he sits there and like thinks about it. Like, I think that's something, yeah. I think that's something that they actually kind of phase out. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like they don't really do that with Data anymore, where they're like, Data, access huge amounts of information, and he just sits there like, bloop, 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 bloop. Yeah, I think that, so this is early season 2, so I think they don't do that much after this. It's not that Data doesn't have a huge access of information in his brain, it just seems like they don't often go to him and have him act like a computer, right? Like accessing, boop, 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 and then say the answer, right? He'll either just already know it, or he will go to the computer and study it out and then tell them. So they're gonna launch a probe into this thing, and it seems like the show varies. This is a cool shot. The show varies on how long it takes to launch something. So my son loves these exterior ship shots, by the way. He calls them Star Trek. But my point is, it seems like it's plot dependent on how long things take to launch. So it's like, prepare a probe, and then it's like, fire when ready, and it's like, oh, that was easy. And then it's like, prepare photon torpedo spread, and then they're like, it's gonna load for a minute before it's just like, what in the world? So it just seems like with firing things out of the ship, whether it's a probe or like a torpedo spread, that it's just plot dependent on how long it takes to prepare to shoot it. Like they could shoot it instantly, or it's got to like sit and load. So yeah, just a little bit of inconsistency as the show seems to be figuring out its rules. My friend 3D printed this for me. Look at this. He calls it the Star Trek, which I think is actually a really good name. So, do you want to play with the Star Trek? Will that make you let me film? Huh? Is that cool?
Sure.
You want to play with that?
More.
Yeah, that's cool. Can you go like this? Yeah, don't break the nacelles off though. Here, like that. See? All right, you're gonna play with this one?
Yes.
Okay, and then what other one are you gonna play with?
I'm gonna play with Data and the person.
Okay, who's that?
I don't know.
Hold her up. That's Deanna Troy.
Deanna Troy.
And who's that? Guinan.
Guinan.
Who's this?
Captain Picard.
Nice. Picard. And who's this?
I forgot.
Beverly Crusher.
Oh yeah,
She's a
Beverly
doctor.
Crusher. Oh, bye.
Okay, and who's this? With the beard.
I
Oh, don't break it.
don't know.
And that's Riker.
Riker.
Yeah.
Riker.
And who's this?
Data.
Yeah, you know Data, huh?
Data.
Yeah, his panel opens. And then who's this?
Simon.
No, it's Geordi.
Oh yeah, Jordan.
Good guess, though. And then what's this called?
Tricorder.
Nice. Okay, go play with that. All right, a condition of them playing with the Star Trek toys is we have to be watching Star Trek. So that's how I'm trying to build little Star Trek minions. Yeah, what is it?
Gaga.
Yes, it is. Good job.
Gaga.
Yep, Star Trek.
Don't touch the TV.
So this is another instance of Pulaski and Data, like where she's treating him like an it. And then you see Data have a little bit of emotion here once he gets vindicated.
I'm not accustomed to working with non-living devices that...
Oh, upset.
Forgive me again. Your service record says that you are alive.
Look at his face. See that
Just accept.
little smile? Anyway, just classic Data, showing just little bits of emotion, just like Spock. But speaking of Dr. Pulaski, in my last review of Star Trek called The Child, the episode before this, I kind of lamented that she's here instead of her. And someone in the comments was actually like, kind of, I don't want to say chastise me, but they're like, no, actually Pulaski has a really great character arc over this season, and Beverly comes back, so it's like I don't need to keep whining about it because Beverly's gonna be back, and just enjoy Pulaski for the one season that she's here. And so in the spirit of the person who left that comment, I'm gonna try to do my best to enjoy Pulaski and her awesome character arc, and then just be happy when Beverly comes back. What do you think of Pulaski? Another Enterprise? How shocking!
It's a Federation ship.
I love that they're not weirded out.
1005-E. It's the Yamato, our sister ship.
The Yamato's nowhere near
The
this
Yamato.
Open a heavy frequency data.
So I like how for us watching the show, it's like a little bit uneasy to see like another Galaxy class ship right there. It's like, oh, this is Twilight Zone. It's like themselves. But then it's like, nope, it's just like Riker's like, oh, it's just a Federation ship. It's the Yamato. You know, like it's no big deal. Because to us, it's like the Enterprise is the one and only. And it's like, no, actually, the Enterprise, it is the flagship, but it's just a Galaxy class starship, which is this. And there's multiples of those flying around. Anyway, I think it's cool that, like I said, to us, it will be like, oh, it's a copy of their ship. And them, they're just like, oh, it's just another one. So I love to see the names of all the ships throughout the show, like the Yamato. Like there's so many cool names of these ships. Can you say Geordi? Geordi. Yeah, and this is Riker. Or is that Wesley? Oh yeah, that's Riker. Can you say Riker? Good job, bud. So they go over and they're exploring the Yamato, and I love how this show, it often feels like Twilight Zone type episodes, but I love that it could just go in and out of like comedy, adventure, horror. Like this part, like look at these hallways. They're all not, it's the Enterprise hallways, just not as well lit. And then this part with Worf's scream is genuinely scary. They both heard each other
I
scream.
heard you screaming. I was coming to help.
You heard me, I heard you.
Anyway, I love that it's just like eerie and creepy and Twilight Zone-ish, and also in the background you now have 3 kids playing with Star Trek toys. Hopefully, nicely. Yeah, they seem like they're doing okay.
Walls on titanium.
So I actually really like this,
Close
how
material beyond our technology.
you have Riker and Worf on an away team
It's got to be an
mission
example of this somewhere.
by themselves, like together, like buddy team. Where at the beginning of the episode they were like training together, so it's kind of cool that you see them training together and now they're on an away team mission together. So I just think that's kind of a cool setup and payoff. Okay, now we got 3 kids playing with 3 tricorders. Can we turn it on? Here, let's push the button. Turn it like this. Push the button. There you go, 3 kids, 3 tricorders. Look at this. I love when they see multiples of each other. It's so unsettling.
How did you...
This is also a really cool parallel to the beginning where Worf gets carried away and he's like about to attack Riker in the holodeck. And now he's getting carried away here.
It's impossible! Impossible! Pull yourself together!
And then you get Riker. So and then it was in the holodeck. It was Riker telling him, "At ease, Lieutenant," and now you have Riker here telling him to pull himself together. So they're it's just cool how they show their team and their dynamic and how they work well together. But sometimes you might need Riker to step in and be like just pull back his like raw Klingon aggression. All right, well that broke. I guess it's only 3D printed, but still, maybe I should know my audience. All right, I'm gonna let him play with the metal Enterprise.
Whoever or whatever you
Here we
are.
go.
Nagilum!
Nagilum. So basically Nagilum now starts asking them all these like very childish questions or questions about their own existence. And there's my absolute favorite part of maybe second favorite part of this whole episode. So he kind of like shakes Pulaski around to find out that she's a female.
What we call a female.
Listen to
I
this.
understand. And the feminine.
Sorry, we got kid noise interrupting, but Nagilum realizes that there's a masculine and a feminine. Feminine.
Way in which we propagate our
This
species.
is my favorite line.
Please demonstrate how this is accomplished.
Not likely.
Please
Whatever you
demonstrate
are,
how you
actions
propagate
are
your
not
species.
We will fight you.
Nagilum just killed a dude.
To understand death, I must amass information on every aspect of it. Every kind of dying. The experiment shouldn't take more than a third of your crew.
That's super creepy where he's like, I have to learn about death, so I need to just like kill a whole bunch of your crew. And I think that's interesting in the context of this game. It says that it can kill a whole bunch of your crew if you can't pass it. Not that I expect your average person to understand this game, but it's just cool that the cards that they made in this game for this person actually like mechanically make sense in the story wise. So I like when they do that. So my kids always want me to point out when somebody dies and you can still see them breathing. You can still see them breathing. So look at this. Look at his nose. So you can totally see his nose moving and breathing. That also helps my kids while watching the show. When characters are dying, it's like, you guys, they're just pretending. They're just actors telling us a story, right? Because otherwise they get really freaked out. So they decide they don't want to play these games and be treated like a lab rat, and so they would rather self-destruct the ship. So I'm kind of like Pulaski, and I disagree, where she's like, isn't that like curing the patient by killing the patient, right? So, but I do like in Star Trek, and there's quite a lot of it, when they do initiate self-destruct, how like stoic and bold and brave and dutiful they are. Like this is a perfect scene of that.
Jean-Luc. Recognize Riker, William T.
Initiate auto-destruct.
Does Riker, William T. concur?
I do. Initiate auto-destruct sequence.
My goodness, look at those blue eyes. But yeah, I just love how like they're like, even if they have disagreements with each other, ultimately they follow the captain, and just how brave they are with this auto-destruct. I also like how I feel like the episode is teasing a little bit because they're doing the auto-destruct, and I feel like in Picard's head he's like kind of bluffing, you know, even though they do bring it out to the last minute. Okay, more on their life and death situation and how they all prep for death in a minute, but turns out I need to bring extras for everybody. All right, guys. Here's an extra Picard. Here's 2 Worfs and an extra Riker and an extra Data. Okay?
Wait, why?
Okay, so each person gets a Data, each person gets a Riker, each person gets a Picard. Turns out my parents were wise, getting one for each brother at the time. So I now have those, and so it turns out my kids can each have a Picard at the exact same time. So good job for hoarding toys. Okay, so I don't think Picard and Riker are entirely bluffing, right? Because they do talk with each other like, how long should we give the crew to prepare? You know, like 20 minutes, or just rip off the Band-Aid, like just get it done quick. So they are actually thinking of destroying the ship. But I think in the back of Picard's head, he's bluffing a little bit. So it's actually kind of a sad window into Picard's life. Like he's preparing for death by himself in his room. And I know he's like a Renaissance man and he's listening to classical music and stuff, but like he's alone in there. Where's Beverly? You know what I mean? Sorry, I said I wouldn't whine about Beverly not being here, but he needs to be with Beverly in my brain.
I'll just...
So, and this scene's actually a little bit teasy because Troy comes in and Data comes in, and you're like, oh, well, she's trying to talk him out of it. But they're also just being with him, too. So he does have a little bit of a family here. But it's also just Nagilum sending people in to try and stop him. And ask him deep questions, which, even though
I have a question, sir.
Data and
Yes, Dad, what is it?
Deanna are not real,
What is death?
but we do get a really great answer out of Picard.
Data.
And Picard, being the best space dad
Asking
ever,
probably the most difficult of all questions.
sits down and basically prepares to answer it. He's got like 14 minutes of life left, and he's like, you know what, I will explain this to my crewmate. Like, that is classic Picard to do that. And then he goes on to explain, like, some people believe it's this, and that you're snuffed out of existence. And some people believe death is this, and that you go on existing, right? And so he's explaining what some people believe.
Which do you believe, sir?
Yeah, Picard. I love, like, his, like, contemplative, pondery, smiley look. He's just, like, you can tell that as a character, he just loves discussing this kind of stuff. And obviously I can't include his whole answer in here, but we will include a little bit of it.
Considering the marvelous complexity of the universe, I believe that our existence must be more than either of these philosophies.
I love that. I love that. And he goes on to talk more, but I just love that we actually get to see a little bit of what Picard believes, and he believes that it's more than either of these two philosophies, like he said, and that our existence is important, and that there seems like there's order in the universe. I really think his answer is quite beautiful. And, like, you can say this show is campy or old or dated or whatever, but I think the fact that it asks these timeless questions and portrays it in such an awesome, entertaining way just makes this show timeless. So what do you think of death and what happens to death when we die to our essence? I happen to believe that we go on existing and that families could be together forever. But I love hearing Picard talk about this. I love hearing him talk about, like, Gilgamesh in that episode, you know, just like old myths and beliefs and science. So I love watching him reconcile, like, science with his beliefs. And I think this whole show does a really good job of exploring that throughout the various characters. So of course Picard's stressing out the whole crew.
10 seconds to auto-destruct.
10 seconds. But I love Riker's.
Abort, auto-destruct sequence.
Riker William T, do you concur?
Yes, absolutely. I do indeed concur wholeheartedly.
Auto-destruct. Cancel.
So I think Star Trek The Next Generation stands on its own, but I think it's a complementary sequel to the original series. And scenes like this, where you just had something really intense, life or death happen, like philosophy of what happens on death. And then they do the classic Star Trek thing, and they end on a joke.
And then says, if you encounter any holes, steer clear.
So funny. Don't drive in the hole, ensign. So it's just the perfect ending. Like, it's just everybody smiling, and they're all like, oh, that was funny when we went in there. You want to know who's not laughing right now? Haskell, because he's dead on the ground while still breathing. And my 9-year-old son wanted me to make sure and let you know that he called it, that Haskell was going to die. But yeah, I like when the episodes end with a joke. It reminds me of the original series. So this has been Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 2, the episode Where Silence Has Lease on Blu-ray. And let me just say, on Blu-ray, it looks and sounds incredible. Some of the best money I've ever spent. So, highly recommend this. It's usually on sale. You can buy the individual seasons for pretty cheap, but there's awesome special features on here. So, definitely worth your time and money for the remastered versions. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for understanding the children noises playing with Star Trek toys during the video. And let me know what you think of this episode. I think it's a good one. I think most of them are great. Honestly, I was like, oh man, Season 2. I just can't wait till Season 3. But Season 2 is full of great episodes. So anyway, let me know what you think. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.